Are you on the hunt for some great nachos this summer?
Nacho, nacho, nacho. Look no farther than the specialty nacho queen. She offers all kinds of different takes on the traditional nachos with her delectable specials, along with salads, soups, sandwiches, and more.
For amazing, locally sourced, non-GMO, gluten-free, vegetarian, and vegan options, find the Nacho Queen every Saturday at the Kenosha Public Market and find the Queen on Facebook for more event info. LaMacchia Travel, 618 55th Street, has served Kenosha for over 90 years.
And with that rich history, you can expect the very best in customer service and care to ensure that your next vacation will be one to remember for all the best reasons.
Stop on in or visit their website, LaMacchiaTravel.com, to plan your next getaway.
Get out of here.
Honk, honk!
Looking for a new car?
Stop on by CarBox, 1750 22nd Avenue.
Scott and his awesome team will go put you in the car of your dreams. They offer great vehicles for all family types.
They have the deals you want and need.
Honk, honk. Visit CarBox, 1750 22nd Avenue.
Honk, honk! On this episode of the Ktown Connects podcast, it's one man's opinion as we connect with former alderperson and owner of Casey Family Options Funeral and Cremations, the one and only Steve Casey. Well, welcome to the Ktown Connects podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Donnie Stancato, and I'm here with who?
Hi, I'm Jason.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, Donnie.
Pleasure to see you again as we are recording the Ktown Connects podcast. What you been up to?
Oh, you know, usual, just working on the show and just having a good time, enjoying life, man.
Yeah, we're official business now.
Yes, we are Kenosha Ktown. We're Ktown Connects LLC.
Yes, we just got the
we got to pay
email
taxes
today.
and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, we're big time now, right?
Yeah. Like, get all the headaches with that.
Yeah.
So, yay.
Well, we are recording, as always, at Luigi's Pizza Kitchen, located at 7531 39th Avenue. They're open Tuesday through Sunday, so give them a call at 262-694-6565. Check out their full menu and order online at Luigi'sPizzaKenosha.com and
order those pizza pies. I'd like to give a special thanks to Dropping Daisies for that great theme song.
Yeah, killer song. And you know what? I just checked the charts. Still number one.
You know, I was talking to Amy over the weekend. She's the drummer for the band. And I told her how much I still love the song. 2 years later, I haven't got sick of it. And they're talking about re-recording a new version.
Oh, I like
update.
that.
I'm like, okay, well, I kind of like the one we have, but I'm up for maybe something a little fresh.
Yeah, we could just change it up a couple episodes or keep it forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah, so we'll see what they come up with. So, but they'll be out this summer, I'm sure, playing all the festivals and everything. They're a great band.
Yeah, Dropping Daisies.
Yeah.
Number one on the charts and number one in our hearts. All right, you can also look for the Ktown Connects podcast on Spectrum Channel 14 and the Kenosha Community Media streaming channel on the Roku box every Wednesday at 11 a.m. and Sunday at 5 p.m. We're on TV. We're
Hi, Mom,
famous.
we're on TV.
Yeah, look at us.
Well, our
Wow.
voices are.
Right,
You
yes.
know.
Yeah, well, we're famous.
Yeah, that's true. And make sure you follow us on all those social media outlets, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Drop us a review on Facebook or your favorite podcast provider. Help us spread the word about the hottest podcast in town.
And that's the Ktown Connects podcast, baby. Yeah,
That's
number
right, Donnie.
one.
Don't forget, you can show your support for the podcast by getting your very own Ktown Connects merchandise, courtesy of the Letter Machine. They got T-shirts, sweatshirts, beanies,
koozies.
Can I talk?
I just wanted to do the double voice. I'm so excited about this merch.
Yeah, you can find the quick link at ktownconnects.com. We just sold a hoodie this last week.
Yes.
I don't know who bought it, but hey, thank you.
Someone's going to be wearing us on their chest.
Yeah,
you
that's
know, I
awesome.
like that.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Lettering Machine, so much.
Yeah, they do great work down there.
Also want to give a shout out to our Patreon supporter of the week, Brandon brand new to the Patreon game, Jason Dill.
Hey, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
That's a great name.
Yeah, that really is. It really is. Well, thank you, Jason Dill, for joining the after party at patreon.com/Ktown Connects. Jason and all of our Patreon supporters get early access to each episode, bonus material, and get this, the critically acclaimed bonus show. It is what it is.
Wait, who's the critic that's acclaiming this?
I am.
Oh, okay.
I'm the critic.
All right. How much does something like this cost, Donnie?
Steve, Jason, you're not going to believe this. As low as $2 a month, you can get all that bonus material.
That's amazing. How can I find a link to that?
The quick link is at ktownconnects.com.
Wow.
Yes.
Amazing. All right, so got all that out of the way
Yeah, now we can get on with the show, right, Steve?
So we're here with Steve Casey. He is a former politician. He owns Casey Family Options, and he can be a little opinionated if you hear him on WLIP here and there.
Yeah, he's on with Bill and Dan Monday mornings.
So we're going to get a little talk from him, find out what he's all about, and maybe get a little opinions out of him.
I like
Thanks
that.
for joining us today, Steve.
Thank you so much,
Well, you're
Steve.
welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
So what was your favorite play you were in high school?
Oh, my gosh. Well, you know.
You were in a bunch of them.
I was in a bunch of them, yeah. Probably Bye Bye Birdie.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit here. So you grew up in Kenosha, born and raised.
Yes.
You grew up right over near the spot. You were part of a large family growing up there?
Yeah, I've got 4 sisters, and of course, mom and dad. There were 7 of us in the family.
Where did you sit?
I was second oldest.
Okay.
Yeah, grew up on 28th Avenue and 73rd Street, and then in 1974, my parents bought the old Dr. Hayden home on 22nd and 73rd. It's right on the corner. It's got the circle drive in the front.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Yeah, that's our home. And I lived there with my sisters and that. And when my parents chose to sell the house, they let all the kids know that the house was available. So my wife and I bought it.
Oh, very
And that
nice.
was back, I think, 24 years ago. So the house has been in the Casey family since, I think, 74, about 74,
Wow, that's
75.
great.
Okay.
And that's where I was, that's where I grew up, and that's where we've raised our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Older neighborhood, block or two away from Lincoln Park, which at the time was a wonderful park to wander through anytime, day or night. Yeah.
So growing up there, what were some of your favorite places on Uptown?
Oh my
Favorite
gosh,
businesses are there?
we would go over and we'd watch the movies at the Roosevelt Theater.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then when I was growing up, the basement, that was a bowling alley.
Oh yeah.
About a 6-lane bowling alley with pin setters.
Oh, yeah.
They used to set pins down there.
Yeah.
And then when Carmichael took over the Roosevelt, he took out the bowling alley and put in a miniature golf.
Oh.
In the basement there.
Okay.
So we would go and watch an afternoon movie at the Roosevelt Theater, and we'd walk there. And then afterwards, we'd go across the street to the A&W.
Oh.
And we'd
Andy's
get
driving.
Andy's driving.
yeah,
right?
Andy's driving. Yeah, and we'd get a Papa Burger or a Mama Burger and a root beer. And in those days, you'd sit at the booth, and there was a phone. You'd order on a phone.
What?
The
Inside?
waitress inside, yeah.
Okay.
The waitress would be in the kitchen, taking your order, and then she'd bring it to you.
Huh.
But she wouldn't come to your table. You'd place the order on a phone. I'll never forget that. That was the A&W back then.
Well, nowadays you can just place the order on your smartphone.
Well,
It's the same thing. It's full circle.
But the smartphone is only as smart as the operator.
That's true. That's true.
Very true.
But we loved. I loved growing up in the older neighborhood.
So tell us about your first job.
Well, my first job was, I think my first job was a paper boy.
Yeah.
I was a paper boy at 12, and I got to tell you, these kids these days who are unemployed and claim they can't find work. My first job was an 11-year-old paper boy, and I haven't been out of work since.
Yeah.
There
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, the work ethic is completely different. I drove a delivery car for a Bernanke drugstore early on. I worked at remember the Western station out here on Highway 50, just past the Sears complex. It's now called Ira's. It's a liquor and it's a gas station right on the corner. That was the old Western gas station, and I worked there for I think 6 months or a year, and I worked second shift. Not every day, but they used to make their own donuts.
Ooh,
so I would make the donuts at night, starting at about 9 o'clock in the morning. They were all fresh donuts every morning, so that was kind of an
it
exciting
must
job.
taste real good. You get those fresh.
Yeah, oh yeah,
donuts.
yeah, absolutely.
Even
absolutely.
that smell of
Yeah,
fresh
yeah.
donuts to it,
Well, and then I worked at the Roosevelt Theater, like we talked about. Frank Frank has mellowed in his older years. I'll tell you that right now. He was a real pistol back then. Fired me 3 times.
Wow, well, I guess you and I are pretty lucky. He hasn't fired us once.
Yeah, well, there you go.
16 years.
Yeah. And he hired you back.
Every time I'm on his show, I have to bring that. I have to point that out.
Yeah.
So,
Now, you're featured on WLIP now, but you've been involved with radio for a long time. You were a student reporter for WRKR.
Oh my gosh! Did you do your homework? What
Mess
the
around
hell?
here on the K-Talk Connect.
I was going to say, where'd you get all this information? Who was my first girlfriend? You don't know
Melanie.
Don't know that one, but
No, Paul Kern was a DJ on WRKR in Racine. Okay, the FM station. And he reached out to all the different high schools in the area, and he did a teen update or a high school update. I forget what it was even called. And that's where I was exposed to Paul Kern. He's retired now, but he was a longtime DJ on WLIP then. And he wanted to reach out, and he did, he'd have a different student in every Friday night. And these students would, come in, and I'd listen to them, and they'd say, well, we're playing basketball tomorrow night against Central High School, and we've got a bake sale on Monday. And I thought, no, there's got to be a little flair to this.
Right.
So Paul would have me in on Friday night, and I would talk about who's dating who, or
there we go.
who's cheating on who, and did you hear Bobby and Susie broke up? And I guess it wasn't all Bobby, things like that. And he loved it. We had such a chemistry that he had me every Friday night. He told all the other kids to stay home. So I did that for, I think, my junior year at St. Joe's. But that was a lot of fun. And that's, of course, how I got exposed to Paul Kern. And then subsequently, when I was an alderman and he was a DJ at WLIP, that's where this whole thing started. It was called the City Council Update, where on Monday mornings I'd come on and say, look, we're voting on this item this week, we're voting on that, whatever the case is. And we did that I think we started that back in the 1990s. Oh. And then then he retired, and of course Bill Lawrence came in and Pete, and they do a wonderful job in the morning slot there. And when I stepped down in 2010 as an alderman, Bill wanted me to keep doing something. And I said, well, Bill, I'm not an alderman anymore. You can't call it City Council Update. Right. Well, you just like expressing your opinion. In fact, that's what we'll call it. One man's opinion. Yeah, so now I'm on Monday mornings at about 7:20, whenever he gets around to calling me, and I'm usually sitting in my lazy boy watching Good Morning America, and the phone rings and I talk to him. And then also on Wednesday morning, we do a live read for the funeral home, talking about different issues with the funeral home. But
so you went on to Stevens Point, but then you came back and you went to Gateway here, Milwaukee.
Yeah. Wow, where do you get this stuff?
Well,
what do you just Google search me and it all pops up?
I got my ways. Come on.
Okay.
But you went.
I've attended actually. I believe almost every university in the Midwest.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes I'd last a month, sometimes 2 months. I think I finished a semester at Carthage. I went to Carthage. I went to Gateway. I went to Cardinal Stritch. I went to MATC. I went to Stevens Point. I went to Parkside. I was lost way back when. And then I started hanging out with 2 very good friends who worked together at the Proco Funeral Home. Okay. I started hanging out with Larry Proco and Bill Altos, who left Proco's to open up to partner with Nancy Pisecki, and now he's at Draeger Langendorf. But the 3 of us were very good friends. Mm-hmm. And I started hanging around the Proco Funeral Home. And one thing led to another, and one day Larry Proco came to me and he said, Paul Lenman down at Lenman-Mishler Funeral Home downtown, which is now closed, he's looking for an apprentice. Would you ever be interested in that? I said, what the hell? So I went down and talked to Paul Lenman. He hired me on the spot, and I served. And in most cases, you do mortuary school, and then you serve your apprenticeship. Mm-hmm. But I did it backwards because I'd never worked at a funeral home. I didn't know whether I would like this or not.
Right.
Yeah.
So I served my apprenticeship first, and it's a full-time job, for a year. And then if you choose to go to school for it, then you go on to mortuary school. And I graduated from MATC in Milwaukee, in the mortuary science program. And then came back to Kenosha and started working at different funeral homes. Worked at Hanson for a while, Hanson Funeral Home. Worked at Lenman-Mishler. And then when I got into actually selling pre-need, a big part of the business is selling burial insurance. It's a sales job, just like you're in, Donnie. And we fund a funeral by selling a burial insurance. So we first sit down and figure out what your cost of your funeral is. And then I sell a burial insurance to fund that. And when I got into that, I formed my own third-party marketing firm. And we had accounts all throughout the Midwest where we would go in and manage their pre-need program. So I went from kind of being on the at-need side of the business, at-need meaning when a death takes place, you work with the family, or to a pre-need situation where you are with them prior to a death.
Okay.
So worked at Proco Funeral Home for about 8 or 9 years. Wonderful 8 or 9 years. Proco family's just very special family. Larry and I are still very close, and just a lot of respect. Third generation family. John Proco, and then Larry took over from there, and now Rachel, Larry's daughter, is running it. Just a wonderful family. And I left there to create my own funeral home, and left on very good terms with Larry.
So what was going through your mind? Like, I'm gonna start my own funeral home. Was it a tough decision?
I never
scared?
No, well, it was very scary. Yeah.
Well, you started with Serenity Services.
Serenity Services was my third-party marketing firm, where we would, for instance, if you had the Donnie Funeral Home, I'd go to you, Donnie, and say, look, are you writing any pre-need? Well, not so much. Just when people call us, I said, well, what if I could hire 2 people to do this for you? Where we get all the commissions, but I pay for your direct mail, I pay for some of your advertising, I pay for this and that, and my people would be working under your name, and that's how we started. We had we had Procos in Kenosha, we had Moth and Bell in Milwaukee, we had Allstead Tyborski. They've got 4 locations. We had a funeral home in Racine. At the time, it was Hanson Funeral Home, and we had about a dozen at one time or another. We had between a dozen and 15 agents, and that the natural progression from that was to want to get into owning my own business, my own funeral home. And we opened up in 2001. In fact...
but that wasn't in Kenosha, was it?
No, we opened up in...
Mount Pleasant?
Mount Pleasant,
okay.
Yeah, up on Old Green Bay Road. And then we eventually expanded into the Kenosha market.
Okay.
And it's a neat story as far as the funeral home's concerned. I mean, first of all, I always thought there was a better and more effective way to do funeral service. The days, and I spotted this 25 years ago, the days of having the big Taj Mahal building, that's going away. And the way we operate and what makes us different than most any other funeral home is I don't have a big building. I'm located right up the street here on 30th and 75th Street.
It's an office pretty much, right?
It's pretty much an office. There's about a 600 square foot preparation room in the back where we do our embalming and whatnot. We have office space. We have a couple of conference rooms. And then when it comes time for a funeral, we move that to church. If your family doesn't have a church affiliation, then I can find a place to rent. We're down at Kemper Center quite a bit. We're at, the Women's Club. We're at different facilities. But in most cases, if your family has a church affiliation, well, then we do it in your church.
Right.
Yeah.
Keeps my overhead down and my prices are quite a bit less.
Yeah.
Because I saw funerals going even 20 years ago, just very expensive. And I saw a need for, we provide the quality that everybody expects in Kenosha, because we got a lot of good funeral homes in Kenosha. Piasekki's is very reputable. Proco's is very reputable. We provide the same services just for a lot less money because I don't have the overhead. And that was kind of my niche market. And I kind of saw that as a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of people are on a budget they can't afford.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
Funerals can cost a ton of money. Now, what's the difference between like burial insurance and say like a pre-plan? Is that kind of the same thing? Or
it's kind of the same thing.
Okay.
Burial insurance is the funding vehicle that we use when you pre-plan a funeral.
Okay, gotcha.
So we sit down and say, okay, you want this type of funeral, you want this casket, you want this burial vault. Cemetery is going to cost you this. This funeral is at today's prices is going to be $7,150. Well, would you like to prepay that? Yeah, I would like to prepay that. Well, then we create an insurance policy, and in many cases they'll write one check. Here's a check for $7,150. We put that money into this insurance policy and it stays there until a death takes place.
Okay.
But there's also creative ways to pay for it. There's payment plans, there's this and that, and there's a lot of
you just got to live that long, right?
You got, yeah. Well, burial insurance is just like car insurance. The difference between burial insurance and car insurance, you're definitely going to use your burial insurance,
Right.
but you may not ever use your car insurance.
Yeah.
So there's a real difference there. And that's been a real niche market for us. We probably do more pre-planning of funerals than just about anybody else in the area because we do it aggressively. We don't do it aggressively, but we run a very active program.
Yeah.
We do seminars, we do direct mail, we do, referrals, we do a lot of different things. I mean, we're talking a lot, over the last 5 or 6 years.
It's got to be a hard business to be in. Are there any days you just wake up and like you don't want to deal with it, or?
Well, the kids and the babies are the toughest.
Oh my God, yeah.
And the senseless deaths, the drug overdoses, the this and that, the death by suicide, those are very difficult. And the curse that most funeral directors have is if you're operating in the city where most of your family lives, you're going to end up burying most of your family.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, my Aunt Betty, my Uncle Bill, my Uncle Jack, my Aunt Bonnie, my Uncle Dick, my Aunt Marilyn, my dad in 2012. I mean, Dad died in hospice in his bedroom, and we were all there, and I, made the removal and took him up to the funeral home. Wasn't able to. I brought in someone else to take care of the embalming in that case because I wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah, that's rough.
And then they wonder why funeral directors drink.
So, Steve, how has funeral services changed since the 1980s?
Well, there's no question. I was licensed. I've been in the business since '82. Went to school and then came back. I was licensed in '85, I think, '85 or '86. But cremation is certainly on the rise. There's no question about that. When I got into the business, cremation was maybe 10, 15%, 20%, maybe. And nowadays our
60%.
cremation rate is closer to 70%.
Wow.
Yeah. But the thing is, what we see the most of in the business is not so much as people. I mean, there's 3 different ways to do a cremation. One is a direct cremation where there's no service, no nothing. It's just us taking care of the cremation, and that's the end of it. Then there's what we call a memorial service.
Yeah.
Memorial service is we're having one tomorrow morning at St. Mark's. The urn will be there, but the body won't. And then one of the ways that we're seeing market share increasing is what we call a traditional cremation. Traditional cremation means a regular funeral with the body in the casket, open casket, visitation, service. Then the cremation takes place. And the reason that is coming on, people want to have the body. A lot of families choose to have the body at the funeral, but they don't want to bury a casket because of the rising costs and cemetery fees. Cemetery fees are outrageous these days. So instead of burying the casket in a cemetery, they'll have the body cremated and then just retain the urn or do something special with the urn.
Do they have to rent the casket, or do you have
we have what we
anything?
call a rental casket, where actually the whole interior is replaced every single time. It's all on Velcro and snaps and hooks and things like that. But so the body is in the casket, and it's a regular funeral, traditional funeral. Then the cremation takes place, and that's one of the things that we've seen increasing the most. And because it's a cost savings thing, there's no cemetery charges then.
Yeah.
To purchase a grave at Sunset Ridge in Kenosha, I think the grave started about $4,000.
Oh, wow.
It's just outrageous. Yeah, it's just outrageous. So, but there are a lot of different options as far as what do you do with cremated remains.
Yeah.
I mean, we know families that have scattered them. We assist in doing that sometimes, and there's all kinds of different options,
Well, that's about time we take our first break.
Yeah, let's take that break, and we'll be back with more with Steve Casey, the owner of Casey Family Options. They're located at 3016 75th Street. Check them out at caseyfamilyoptions.com. Give them a call at 262-653-0667. Find them on Facebook as well.
Absolutely.
And we'll be back.
All right.
Wow, Jason, your hair looks fantastic.
Thanks, Donnie. I got a cut from Trish at Faded Barbershop for Men, 2227 63rd Street.
They offer many different services, including shaves, waxing, and that good old-fashioned haircut.
Follow their Facebook page to schedule your next hair-raising experience.
That's Faded Barbershop for Men, 2227 63rd Street. Hey, Jason, you thirsty?
Yeah.
Well, get on down to Lucci's Grandview, 6929 39th Avenue, and grab yourself a cold drink and some good conversation.
This family-owned bar will serve you up some great memories.
Follow them on Facebook for their great upcoming specials and events.
That's Lucci's Grandview, 6929 39th Avenue. Cheers. And we're back from that break.
And what a break it was.
That's right, Donnie.
That bit never gets old.
We're here with Steve Casey talking funeral stuff. So in 88, you were elected. It was the 8th district at the time, and they changed it over. It was
That's
pretty much
correct.
the same. It was the 12th district later on.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
But at the time, you were the youngest city council member?
I was the
26?
youngest elected and the longest serving.
Okay.
George Fitchett, who I had a lot of respect for, he served 28 years, but they were 2 stints of 14 years. He was an alderman for 14 years and ran for mayor, so he had to step down, as an alderman, and he lost as mayor. And then he ran again in 2 years again and got reelected and served for another 14 years.
Okay.
So he has served, the longest serving alderman was 28 years, but the longest serving consecutive alderman was me.
Okay.
And it was 22 years. And the joke is, as a bartender at Sunnyside, and as an alderman, I said, well, does it count if I don't remember the first 4 years?
Right. Yeah.
So is it really just 18 years?
So what made you kind of want to be an alderman to start out with?
Well, I'd always been involved with politics in a school.
Okay.
I was on the student council at Lincoln Junior High. And then Frank Passetti and I were president and vice president of the high school at St. Joe's. And I was in mortuary school. I was the president of the fraternity Sigma Phi Sigma. So I'd always had taken an interest in that type of thing. And I came back in 88 or 86 when I graduated. And I moved back home, of course, with my mother and father. And across the street was our alderman, and his name was Greg Guttormson. And he was an alderman. And I said, you know what? I got a group of guys that want to help me, some beer drinking buddies, and they thought it would be fun to run for alderman. So I walked across the street one day, and he was working in his yard, and I said, Alderman Guttormson. I said, I'm your neighbor, Steve Casey, across the street, and I don't know your politics. I don't know whether you're a good alderman or a bad alderman, so this is nothing personal. But I said, I'm going to run against you in the spring, just for shits and giggles, just for something to do. And he took one look at me. He said, well, can I run your campaign? And unbeknownst to me, he was planning on stepping down. So he announced he was stepping down, and he helped me with my campaign.
Oh, that's good.
I did have opposition that year. I had a fellow run against me, but I was successful, and so it took off from there.
Wow.
Enjoyed every minute of it. Oh, well, except for the last, I probably overstayed my welcome down at City Hall. Yeah, I probably should have stepped down 2 or 4 years in advance. I just got so damn sick and tired of these meetings.
Yeah.
In most classes, in universities and that, how long is the class? 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
And at 50 minutes, even if it's a 3-hour class, usually at 50 minutes, they give you about a 10-minute break to get up and walk away. So at 50 minutes at a council meeting, I'd be looking at my watch. I'd be looking at my watch and looking to get out. So,
yeah.
It's kind of burnt out after so many years.
Yeah. Well, and we had such a good group of guys back in the 90s and the early 2000s. I mean, guys with integrity like Dennis Pierce, Chuck Bradley, Everett Butler, Frank Passetti, Julia Robinson, Kathy Marks. Just a great group of guys that all got along, and they were just good, nice people.
Yeah.
And everybody, we did very little lobbying of votes. Well, I'll vote for this if you vote for that, because we didn't have to.
Yeah.
Because I knew where Chuck Bradley stood on every single issue. If it was a spending issue, he was going to vote against it because he's conservative. If it's an older neighborhood issue, Case is going to support it. Kate is going to support it. Dennis Pierce supported Kathy Marks, Julie Robinson, Everett Butler. Everybody knew where everybody stood.
Yeah.
And it didn't mean you were a bad person. Just because you disagreed with somebody, and you could still go out and get a pizza at the Sunnyside Club afterwards and drink a couple of beers, which is what we did. But then this new breed of aldermen started coming in, and I coined the phrase years ago. I used to call them the Fabulous Five. There were 5 guys who were just troublemakers. And if you voted against them, you were on their list. You were on their hit list.
And they were troublemakers not in a good way. You could be a good troublemaker.
No, they were not troublemakers. They were micromanaging.
Yeah.
And there's still one guy on the council.
Who? Name drop.
Well, Dave Bogdala is one of the original members of the Fabulous Five.
Yeah.
But you had Ray Meisner. You had G. John Ruffalo. You had Anthony Nudo. You had Kevin Mathewson at one point.
Oh,
you had
Donnie's best friend.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we'll leave it at that. But it changed the whole scope of the dynamics of the city council in a bad way.
Yeah.
And to a degree, a lot of the guys down there still operate that way. So Bill Lawrence and I coined the phrase Fabulous Five. They think they're superheroes. And still when I say Fabulous Five, people know who I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Do you think Bogdala will run for mayor in 2 years?
I'm not sure. I would, if he runs for mayor, then I'm probably going to run for mayor.
Oh.
My wife, I don't think would allow me to run for mayor.
No.
Every now and then when I'm talking about one man's opinion and when I'm talking about on shows like this and I start talking about City Hall and, I still get that fire in my belly every now and then. It's a little, but you know what I miss the most? I don't miss going to the meetings. I miss delivering for my constituency, and having, Mrs. Smith down the street. Steve, our alley is so dirty. Well, then I would help her.
And you'd see
get
things
it
change
fixed.
for the better
exactly
and
right.
see her be happy.
I don't miss that, and I miss the guys. I don't miss the meetings. I was a tenacious campaigner. I was like a pit bull, and I would hit every door in my district 3 times, do about 4 different lit drops. I would do fundraisers. I would do this and that. I loved campaigning.
So you were pretty vocal in your time as alderman, and in 1999, you were one of many Kenoshans who were against putting in the streetcar line.
Yeah.
And has your opinion changed about the streetcars?
Well, it's funny. I voted, I think Frank Passetti and a handful of other guys voted against the streetcar. And the reason I voted against it is I just didn't see any sense in it going around in circles.
Right.
If you wanted to turn it into a mode of transportation, that's different. Now, this is from a guy who voted against a streetcar and then had 3 young kids at home. And my wife would go grocery shopping on a Saturday. She'd say, you got to take care of the kids for a couple hours. So we'd get in the car. We'd drive down to the streetcar. We'd ride the streetcar around a couple of times. And my son Thomas knew every single car and the name of it by color. They all have different names, the Pennsylvania, things like that. And he loved it. So then we get off at the museum stop and we'd walk through the museum, for an hour or so.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful museum. And then we'd get back on the streetcar, ride around a couple more times, and then we'd end up at lunch at Trolley Dogs.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a whole thing.
It's an experience.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. And I loved it. And I had wished that they would have expanded it to go down 7th Avenue like they were going to, down to the band shell.
Yes.
And I had hoped that they would run it to the Uptown neighborhood.
That'd be
although
beautiful.
There's no sense in doing that now. But anyways, but no, I would be a big, and they, what's the light rail system that they have in Milwaukee? They call it the HOP or something. Is that the?
I haven't been in Milwaukee in a long time. I'm a more Chicago guy myself.
Yeah, they've got streetcars now on tracks.
Okay.
And it's wildly successful. It connects the north side to downtown to the historic neighborhood. So some people see it as a waste of money, but if it can be a mode of transportation, that's something kind of neat. I mean, people still come to it. I think the hours should be cut back. I mean, my wife and I were driving around this weekend downtown, and there's nobody on the streetcar. It's just probably too soon. Maybe it should just be a warm weather thing.
Yeah.
And things like that. But no, I voted against it. But I've ridden the trolley, I bet you, more times than any other elected official in southeastern Kenosha because my kids loved it, and it was something for us to do. We did that almost every Saturday for months at a time. A lot of the same people still live in the old neighborhoods. A lot of them have passed on. But being their paper boy, being their alderman, and then ultimately being their funeral director.
Wow.
So it's kind of a neat thing. I mean, I can still point out, people who still live in the neighborhood, and so that way it's very meaningful. Representing the neighborhood you were born and raised in, and also conducting business there. So it was a plus that way. But always the older neighborhoods I've always had a soft spot for them. The city is not doing jack shit. Can I say that?
Yep, you
Sure.
can say it. Yep,
You just did.
They're not doing jack shit for the older neighborhoods at this point.
No,
Right.
You know, the
they're not.
infrastructure has fallen, is absolutely crumbling beneath our feet. And meanwhile, we're putting all the money in the downtown area, building more apartment buildings and doing this. We're putting more money into the innovation neighborhood. Can somebody please tell me what the hell an innovation neighborhood
That's
is?
why I really wanted to talk to you about this because you have very strong opinions. Do you even think this is going to happen?
Well,
I mean, the
you're
mayor's
talking about a project that is probably not even going to be up and operating for 20 years.
Right.
I mean, the only thing that he's got going there now is that they're gonna put roads in there, and I guess Lakeview Tech is going to open up, build a school there. But yeah, I don't even understand. They're calling it an innovation neighborhood.
Yeah, I
you know,
don't
Kenosha
understand
Innovation Neighborhood. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
And I've been involved with city council for 22 years. What the hell are you talking about? First of all, you got the Uptown, which is a complete disaster.
Yep.
You know, now I can feel my blood pressure going up, just so you know.
I mean, nobody cared about it before.
Well, nobody cared about it before, and when we built the Pick and Save, which, by the way, I was opposed to, the grocery store, because I'll never forget the meeting that we voted on it. I said to the representative of Pick and Save, now, is this going to be a grocery store, you know, for 20 years? Well, Mr. Casey, we have a 20-year lease. I said, I didn't ask that. I said, will this be a grocery store for 20 years? Well, Mr. Casey, we have a lease. Well, I had done my homework as well. What happens when a grocery store moves into a neighborhood is the lease, first of all, is this big, real big. And as years go on, they scale the lease down to a lower figure you know, to help them operate. And they reach a certain point, and usually it's about halfway through the lease or 12 years into the lease, where if they're not making the right kind of margins, you know, and they're losing money, they'll keep paying the lease and close the store down.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened over there. They were a grocery store for 12 years. And now until I think there's still 3 or 4 years left on the lease where it's going to be an empty building. You know, we had the perfect opportunity to put the job center in the old Pick and Save building. And a former alderman, who I won't mention her name, stood up at a meeting and thought and announced that she thought that was a bad idea. You know, and now the job center is being located on 52nd Street. You know, the job center has 1,000 people working there, you know, every day going to work there. And they get visitors of between 750 and 1,000 people.
1,000 people work at the job center?
Visitors come in.
Well, no.
Right?
I believe it's about 400 or 500 people who work there.
Okay.
But people who visit the job center, it's about 1,000 people a week.
Okay.
You know, for different things, veteran services, things like that. Why in the hell wouldn't you want 1,000 people coming into your neighborhood every single day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where the job center should have been. That Pick and Save development never was what it was supposed to be.
Well, there's room there for both. There's still an empty lot sitting there, right? You know.
Well, exactly. That was where the second apartment building was
Right.
going to go.
Yeah.
Well, the first apartment building is not even at full occupancy, and they've got 11 retail spaces on the first floor. For years,
There's
9 of them sat empty.
Not even like done, not even remodeled. They were
Yeah,
sitting
not even done. But now, since the Uptown burned, you know, during the riots, some of those small businesses moved over to Pick
there.
and Save.
Yep.
But that project never was what it was supposed to be. And now instead of fixing the problem, you know, not only the Pick and Save development, but the Uptown as a whole, now we're putting money into an innovation neighborhood. You know, innovation neighborhood. What does that even mean? Nobody can even tell me what that means.
Yeah.
You know, well, there's going to be some spillover effect. You know, it'll impact the Columbus neighborhood in a positive way. How the hell is it going to do that?
Yeah.
The only spillover I see is in the Uptown is when the garbage cans are full and nobody empties them. You know, there's spillover there. We were told when the Pick and Save went in on 63rd Street, we were told that there'd be some spillover into the Uptown. Never happened.
Nope, never,
Never happened. You know, now you got my blood pressure going. I remember as a kid, I used to pedal my bike to the Uptown and buy my Super 8 film. Remember Super 8 film?
Yeah.
And at the Roadie's Camera Shop, lean my bike against the front of the roadie's camera shop, never locked my bike, never had to, go in and buy my film, stop at the Frost Top for something to eat, or the Dutch Maid. There was a Dutch Maid there, the Ben Franklin. That was the place to be.
Yeah.
I don't know how old you guys are, but I'm 61, and I remember they used to have Uptown days, where they block off the streets.
I've heard about that, yeah.
Carnival rides and things like that. And it was a fabulous thing. And now, because they've chosen to put in these loft apartments where all those businesses burned,
Right.
you are forever going to change the landscape of the Uptown. It will never be a retail hub again.
No.
It's now going to be a residential place. And is that really what you want there? I agree. Tear down the damn buildings and take site control.
Yeah.
Site control is 90% of the game, and let it sit and determine what's best. Come up with a plan. What they're doing in the Uptown was a knee-jerk reaction to the riots. We got to build something. Well, no, actually, we don't. All you really have to do is tear the buildings down.
Yeah.
And that's what that's what they should have done over at the Pick and Save when they tore down the brass. Everybody says, "Well, we need a grocery store." Well, what do you mean you need a grocery store? Well, apparently you don't need a grocery store because it didn't last.
I love that grocery store. I went there all the time.
Well, actually, so did we. Yeah.
I miss it.
Yeah. But
So what do you think the answer is for Uptown? Just
a bulldozer is a good step in the right direction, and they've done that. But I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it be a retail hub again. Specialty neighborhood.
Yeah.
You've got a large population of Hispanics in that community. Maybe you put in a Hispanic restaurant. Maybe you put in a Hispanic bakery. Things like that. Make it. You've got Chinatown in Chicago. You've got all these different neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Well, maybe call this Little Mexico or what have you.
Yeah.
Have a theme that can address these issues.
But then you need business owners.
Well, then you need business owners. But you create a situation where if the city builds the buildings, you can offer them at, we'll give you no rent due for 6 months. And then 50% of market rate in the second 6 months.
Yeah.
You got to be able to assist these business owners.
right.
To be able to do things like that. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of help out there for small businesses.
Right, yeah. Well, then a lot of times we'll offer that, and people don't take advantage of that too. We've seen that problem in downtown Kenosha. We've had that.
I've said this for years. My wife and my daughter Elizabeth will shop anywhere. They'll spend hours in a gift shop at O'Hare. They shop everywhere. When we go to a warm weather place, they'll walk through every shell, every seashell gift shop. Just for the sake
all
of shopping.
selling the same crap.
Yeah, all selling the same crap. That's right. But they have never once shopped in the Uptown. And my wife, and most people with disposable income, they don't shop in the Uptown.
Yeah.
First of all, you got the guys hanging out in the corner selling drugs and the homeless. So you got to address that issue. So you're gonna build loft apartments and charge market rate rent. And as you look out your picture window, you can see people sleeping on the under the awning across the street.
Yeah.
The problems in the Uptown are much bigger than just needing a loft apartment being built. And they're not addressing that.
Focus on the families and the houses.
Right, exactly. What they should have done, and I've said this for years, when the fire station pulled out of Roosevelt Road, they should have turned that into a neighborhood policing. Go to a neighborhood policing model.
Yeah.
Where when you're in the garage of the fire station there, you can look up and down 22nd Avenue and see everything.
Yeah.
What would be wrong with putting a satellite police station there? That's going to curtail the crime right from the get-go. You put cops on bikes, you get them walking the beat again. You do all of that.
Right. Let's shift gears to downtown Kenosha.
Okay.
Now, do you think there's going to all these apartments? How do you feel about that's coming down
Well,
there?
they're putting a whole lot of money into downtown, but the one part of downtown that they're not putting a dime into, well, at least they haven't. They've done some improvements, is the lakefront and the beaches. I remember swimming at Eichelman Beach where they had lifeguards on duty.
Yeah, I remember
where they had areas roped off where you could swim and not swim. Have you been to the Eichelman Park bathrooms lately? You walk in there, you almost need a hazmat uniform to even use the bathroom. Build a couple of nice bathrooms, in these different parks. Build some pavilions that you can rent. Like at Pets, those pavilions are booked every single weekend. for parties, for anniversaries, for things like that. Put some money into the lakefront. Make the beaches, a destination place.
Yeah.
Whether it's Simmons Island or Southport. Now they are doing some work at Southport, but they're not focusing nearly enough money in the lake access. I mean, you can have kayak rentals. You can do
I think
this.
they're at Simmons Island. They are. I know Matt from Public Breweries doing something down there. He's going to have some beer, and they're going to have some kind of rentals,
which is a step in the right direction.
Well, we'll see if it happens.
Yeah,
right?
we'll see if it happens.
Right.
They've tried to do that for a long time. When I was growing up, there was a snack shop in the Simmons Island. Down there. I mean, and we've got more public access to Lake Michigan than almost any other community on Lake Michigan.
We did a great job preserving it and making it into a park. We did a great job with that, but now we have to do something with these parks.
Yeah, but you have to develop the beaches a little bit. And I hate pointing to Racine as an example, but have you been to North Beach up there?
It's beautiful.
They've got playground equipment. They've got modern bathrooms. They sell wine and beer, which, by the way, Kenosha, selling beer and wine isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
Everybody seems to think, well, we don't need beer in the downtown. Well, maybe we do. Yep. Maybe Dad wants to watch the kids play in the sand and drink a beer.
Yeah.
What the hell's wrong with that? I mean, there's all kinds of things up there. They have canoe, I think, kayak rentals up there. They have all kinds of, music on weekends and things like that. That's a destination place. People go to Racine to go to North Beach.
Yep.
Well, people don't necessarily come to Kenosha to go to Eichelman because there's nothing there.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
And people do come to Simmons Island. They go to the beach on a hot day. The beach is packed.
Right.
But the city's not taking advantage of that at all.
Well, and there's just not anything there.
Yeah.
I mean, the bathrooms down in the
they're nasty.
They're horrible down there as well.
Yeah.
I mean, people ought to be selling. There ought to be ice cream trucks down there. There ought to be
food
trucks, and someone selling beer and wine out of the.
Well, DKI tried to do something a couple summers ago. They tried to do something down the beach there.
Well, I think they had
pop-up beach fundraisers.
Yeah,
but it should be there nonstop.
It should
during
be there
the summer.
constantly.
Yeah, or at least every weekend, or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see more money put into the lakefront. They're putting a whole lot of money, and it does. You don't need to be a rocket ship scientist. The first grass that's cut are the lakefront parks. Lincoln Park is usually the last. Yep. The flowers are all planted down there in the Harbor Park neighborhood. Yeah. The flowers at the Lincoln Park are the last to be planted. I mean, clearly the focus is downtown. Yep. And now with what the mayor's proposing with the new city hall and things like that, it's all about downtown. Well, it can be all about downtown, but it also needs to be about the older neighborhoods.
Spread the love a little bit.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. How do you feel about the parking garage down there? I feel this nobody. I park down there when I go to the markets, and I got front row parking. Nobody uses it.
Well,
I don't.
The parking ramp has always been a bone of contention with me. It's a $7 million structure. And originally they were going to put retail space on the first floor.
Yeah, I remember
and that never happened. And then where else can you go in any metropolitan area and not pay for parking?
Right.
I mean, even a dollar or $3 or $5 all day, whatever the case is. And they claim that it was going to be built, that there were going to be spaces available for the Stella, because the Stella doesn't have a parking lot.
Yeah.
So that's how it was going to operate, that there were certain spaces for the Stella. But as you pull into the ramp, they tell you that you have to, no overnight parking,
right.
And you have to move your car at 3 a.m. You can only park till 3 a.m. Well, if you're staying at the Stella and you're using that, you're not going to park there. Now, apparently, the third or fourth floor, there is dedicated
spots. I saw that the other day.
But how do they enforce that? And I called the Stella. I said, "Did you have parking across the street in the new parking ramp?" Well, I'm not. I think so. Okay. How do I do that? Do I get a voucher, or do I have to prove that I'm overnight at the Stella? The whole thing was a screwed up project to begin with. It's a $7 million parking structure where they ought to be able to at least get something for it. And they didn't even.
They can't even get people to park in it.
And they never even wired it for. It can be a free parking lot, but they never even wired the building for that when you pull in, you get your token, and then you pay on the way out. They don't even have electricity to do that.
Oh, wow.
So I think because there was no foresight in this. And I know this for a fact because, well, I won't tell you why I know that. But anyway, so even if they wanted to charge now, they can't do it with a metered thing.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's just
Well, at least maybe put like a big sign, free parking in there, because you drive by, you see the gate there, you're like, oh, I'm not gonna pay for that. I'll drive around and find a place somewhere else. So.
Right. No, nobody uses it.
No, I think I'm the only one.
Well, I was going to start parking our hearse in there.
There you go.
I mean, if there was overnight parking, which I still think that's the reason why they put the signs up, no overnight parking. We have a place that we store our hearse, but I could save that money and just park my hearse in the parking garage every night.
Bring it
when I need it, come down and pick it up.
There you go. There you go.
So, in your 22 years, what's your proudest accomplishment as a Kenosha politician?
Certainly supporting the older neighborhoods. There's no question about that. And standing up for the small business.
Okay.
I hope I don't offend anybody out there, but you drive by a place like Applebee's and you see the place packed. Mm-hmm. And it's a corporation, that.
Right.
But there are so many decent places to get a good hamburger in Kenosha.
Yep.
The Garage on 60th.
Yeah.
The old Spanky's. The Sunnyside Club is a nice family place. You get homemade pizza, this and that. It doesn't take a whole lot to look around.
Right.
And be able to purchase and be able to use your consumer dollars with local businesses.
Yep.
And that's what we prefer to do. And I tell people that all the time.
All right. Through your years as alderman, there's a lot of hot topics. They had the casino, the streetcar, all kinds of things. Looking back now, over 10 years later, which hot topic of your years you think has the best or the greatest historical impact on our city?
The Chrysler pulling out.
Okay.
And the local 72 and a lot of the a lot of Kenosha wanted us to sue Chrysler.
Yeah.
And if we would have sued Chrysler back then in 1990, it would still be in court today.
Sure.
And we'd still have an abandoned engine plant down at the lakefront. By us refusing to pursue Chrysler, and acquiring all that property down there was the single biggest thing that we could have done. Harbor Park and Harborside. Yep. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
So, and had we sued Chrysler, it would have never gotten off the ground.
And I want to get your opinion on the red zone, the vault, coins. You're very outspoken about this as well.
I have no idea why in the world we would have purchased the red zone.
Yeah.
That makes
no sense.
It's a horrible
$400,000. And we have, the city's got 1,000% batting average in taking bad licenses. We did it to coins. We got them. They were a bad operator. The vault, the vault downtown is actually not a bad operator. They just had some bad experiences down there. But there's no reason in the world why we should have. It's like reward a bad landlord. And that's what the city's doing in some of the older neighborhoods. You got a landlord that's renting property to a bunch of drug addicts or a bunch of drug dealers. So what does the city do? They'll come in and say, "Oh, Mr. Smith, you've got a rundown property there. We'll give you, $100,000 for the property. Okay, I'll take it."
Why don't they just bust the drug dealers?
Then they tear the building down, and now you got an empty lot.
Yeah.
Well, here's an idea: enforce the codes that we have in place. It's not rocket ship science. It's and so I was very much opposed to the purchasing of the red zone.
When I heard that, I just couldn't believe it. I said,
well, then why isn't Coin saying, "Hey, why aren't you buying my bar?"
Well, that's exactly what I would have said if I was their attorney.
Yeah.
He said, "You're going to shut us down." I think they're shut down now, right?
Yeah. They've been a couple weeks now. They've been shut down.
Should have just cut them a check.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And when the Gascoigne family ran it, good operators.
Mark
very philanthropic. Did fundraisers there.
Great benefits there. Yeah.
Right. And they turned it over to this other operator, and they ran it into the ground
quickly too.
And I was concerned that the Gascoignes may have sold it on a land contract, but apparently they got their money out of it, which is good.
Yeah.
Because on a land contract, the operator goes belly up, you get it back.
Yeah.
So they were a good family.
All right, I know you kind of touched this before. This is our final question before our break here. You considered it in 2007, but didn't follow through. What will it take for Steve Casey to run for mayor in 2024?
I don't think that. I don't think that would happen. But the first thing I would do is, if I ran for mayor, I'd run on the platform of eliminating the job. Elect me mayor, and I'm going to eliminate the job.
Oh, all right.
We don't need a mayor full time. We can have a figurehead. And I envision my candidacy would be I'm going to come to a department head meeting on Thursday. I'm going to tell you, okay, we're here at point A. I want us to get to point B. I'll be back next week. You can update me.
There you
And
go.
that's it. And then bring in a high power, city administrator.
Okay.
That's
a position they have.
That's a position they have, but
Yeah.
spend some money to get some real talent.
Okay.
Not that past city administrators haven't been talented, but bring in, make it comparable to what it really should be, running $170 million business. Mm-hmm. That's what the city is,
Right?
And someone who will run it as a city or run it as a business. Mm-hmm. So I think I could. They always say if you want something done, give it to a busy man. I could be mayor and run the funeral home. What the hell?
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. You heard it here first.
Yeah, right.
All right. Well, that does it for our second segment, and we're going to take one more break. We'll be right back to wrap things up here with Steve Casey.
Frank's Diner, 508 58th Street, has been a Kenosha icon since 1926.
This classic establishment offers up sassy service with scrumptious breakfasts and lunches.
Can you take on the garbage plate?
I don't know. Stop on in at Frank's, open 7 days a week in beautiful downtown Kenosha. Every Friday, get on down to Union Park Tavern, 4520 8th Avenue, for their famous fish fry. It's voted best in Kenosha for the last decade.
But that's not all. Union Park Tavern serves up great food every day, including their 9 a.m. weekend brunches.
And if you enjoy live music, they have you covered there as well. Live music every Friday and Saturday night.
Also, be sure to check out their beer garden. That's Union Park Tavern, 4520 8th Avenue. Hey, you out there. If you're in the market to sell or buy a home, make your next move with Next Home Refined.
This local real estate brokerage specializes in humans over houses. They focus on the main part of the real estate transaction, and that's the people.
Contact Minnie Samuel at 262-960-0468 or Minnie's, MINIS.smarthomeprice.com to start your real estate adventure.
That's Next Home Refined. And we're back from that break.
And what a break it was. And we're here with Steve Casey of Casey Family Options, 3016 75th Street. Just want to give the man some more plugs here. Find him on the World Wide Web, the internet, at caseyfamilyoptions.com. Facebook, give him a call at 262-653-0667 and pre-plan your funeral.
And you can click that link right in our show notes, too. I have a link right there to his website.
Boom.
Click on
simple.
over there. You can check them out while you're listening to the show. So what time is it now, Donnie?
Oh, it is time for Kenosha Connects.
That's right. And Kenosha Connects is brought to you by Laura Cox of Acupuncture and Wellness of Wisconsin. Hey, Donnie, are you suffering from pain, migraines,
ouch.
PTSD, anxiety, grief, or stress? Well, visit Laura Cox of Acupuncture and Wellness of Wisconsin, 3917 47th Avenue, for excellent care in the form of natural, functional, and traditional Chinese medicine. Visit acuwellwi.com. Click that link in our show notes so you can live well, choose well, and be well. So we got some Kenosha Connects questions here with Steve Casey. Steve, what is the last great meal you had in Kenosha?
Well, I'm very partial to the House of Gerhard's.
Great place there. Great place.
Excellent food, but pricey. But
that's all right.
You get what you pay for, though.
Yeah.
What's your favorite annual Kenosha event?
Oh, it'd have to be the 4th of July.
Oh, yeah. Down at the lake, yeah. It's a great time. Frank does a good thing down there with the whole Celebrate America.
Absolutely.
It's always
He
a
really
good time.
What now closed Kenosha business do you wish you could bring back?
Well, gosh, there's so many of them. Probably my favorite was Andrea's.
That's
But I hear it's coming back.
or something.
It's going to come back in some form.
Yeah, maybe not the same, but yeah, it's going to.
All right, so obviously you listen to WLIP. You've been on there, but what is your favorite show that's currently on?
Well, I probably should say Lenny Palmer, but I'm kind of partial to the morning group as well.
Of course.
I love Bill. Bill's
Yeah.
a great guy. When's the last time you put your feet in Lake Michigan?
Probably last October.
Okay.
September. Absolutely. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we're down by the lake quite a bit.
Yeah, a lot of people go down the lake, but they don't really go out to the beach, actually
Yeah.
go down there.
Yeah.
All right. In which Kenosha bar do you think you spent the most money at?
Oh, for heaven's sakes. Everybody knows that. Probably Sunnyside Club.
There you go.
Although they weren't very profitable back when I bartended there because I gave away half the drinks. I was buying votes back then.
Yeah. Now, we ask this of everybody. They don't usually give us pretty lousy answers, but I think you're going to have a good answer. Who do you think should be our next mayor?
Well, I'd like to have somebody. I'd like to have somebody come out of the private sector.
Okay.
Not a career politician. Out of the private sector that knows how to run a business.
Oh, okay.
I would support Frank Carmichael.
Whoa.
Hey.
Okay. All right. Wow.
All right. Last question. Big Star or The Spot? I think I know where this is going.
Yeah, obviously, Southsiders go with the Spot. The Northsiders go with Big Star. Although my son Thomas is a Big Star fan. Don't you remember the old Fontainebleau on 22nd Avenue?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The Smokies.
Definitely the Spot with double bacon cheeseburger.
Oh, there you
and,
go.
Jalapeno poppers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, maybe I'll go there after the show.
The breaded cheese squares.
Right.
Well, that's it for the Kenosha Connects.
All right. And what time is it now?
Ding, ding, ding. It's trivia time. And trivia is brought to you by the Downtowner Saloon. Yee-hoo! Mosey on down to the Downtowner Saloon, 707 56th Street, for some mouth-watering Southwestern foods, including their amazing brisket, their flavorful original rubs, and the greatest smoked meats in town. Enjoy a meal or just stop in for one of their delicious specialty drinks. You ever have one of those, Jason?
Oh, yeah, they're great.
Fantastic. So get on down to the Downtowner Saloon, 707 56th Street.
Great food down there.
Yeah, it really is. I love that place.
So, Steve, were you Jake or Elwood?
I was the short one. No, I was the skinny one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would be Jake. I was Dan Aykroyd.
Yes.
Yeah, Dan Aykroyd. Yeah.
No, that's Elwood. Okay, you're not going to do good. You might have to do good in this trivia.
Uh-oh.
Because you played Blues Brothers a lot of charity shows over the 90s. You and Frank Lassetti did a Blues Brothers routine.
Yes.
And so we're doing... Also, I heard that Mayor Antremian did a Sonny Bono impression.
I think he did.
Remember that?
Have a Heart
I'd love to see
shows.
that. So,
Yeah.
So we're doing Blues Brothers trivia.
Oh, boy.
It's you against Donnie.
I only seen the movie once, so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's 3 questions for each of you. So we'll see who can win. Donnie, you're going to go first. So you can kind of see how it works here, Steve. Donnie, Jake is released from Joliet prison after serving 3 years for what crime? Was it A, carrying an unlicensed firearm, B, reckless driving, 5th offense, C, kidnapping a local politician, or D, attempting to rob a gas station?
B.
That is incorrect. The correct answer is D, for attempting to rob a gas station.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right, Steve, here we go. What make of vehicle is the Bluesmobile? Is it a 72 Chevy Monte Carlo, a 74 Dodge Monaco, a 73 Hornet, or a 72 Ford Torino?
Ford Torino.
No, the
really?
Dodge Monaco.
Oh, Dodge Monaco. Yep, okay.
So we're tied up. It's a tough game here. Donnie,
I got it.
if you're going to get one, this is the one you're going to get. When Jake was in prison, Elwood got rid of the original Bluesmobile, which was a Cadillac. What did he trade the car for? Did he trade it for the current Bluesmobile, cocaine, a microphone, or a new suit?
New suit.
No, the answer is a microphone. But they did a lot of cocaine on the set, though.
Yes, I'm sure they did. Yeah.
All right, Steve, here's one. You're going to go ahead on this one here. How much money do the Blues Brothers get paid for their first gig at Bob's Country Bunker? A, $200, B, $100, C, nothing, or D, they owe $100 because they drank too much beer?
D.
You are right.
Hey, ding, ding, ding. All right.
Steve is on the board.
Well, I guess I got to get this right
your
to
last
tie
one?
it up.
Donnie, which iconic performer does not sing a song in the movie? Ray Charles, James Brown, John Lee Hooker, or Little Richard?
John Lee Hooker.
That is incorrect.
Oh.
Correct answer is Little Richard.
Oh.
So, Steve, you won, but I get to one last question for fun here.
Sure.
So, which film director has a cameo as a tax assessor clerk? George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, Francis Ford Coppola, or John Landis?
John Landis.
No, Steven Spielberg.
Oh.
I'll have to watch that movie again.
You should. And then I had a couple bonus ones. What did the Blues Brothers call the nun at the orphanage? The Penguin.
Ah.
You guys aren't good at this.
No.
But Steve, you still won, and you won a Ktown Connects t-shirt.
Oh,
courtesy of the lettering machine.
There we go. Oh,
Located
nice.
in downtown Kenosha. You can find all that merchandise of the lettering machine at ktownconnects.com and get a hold of them for all your print and embroidery needs.
Yes, we love the lettering machine. I hope to
Beautiful.
see you wearing that out in the
Thank you.
city.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, well, that was really fun, Steve. Thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. I wish you the best.
Thank you so much. And that's KC Family Options, Funeral and Cremations, located at 3016 75th Street. Give them a call, 262-653-0667, kcfamilyoptions.com. Find them on Facebook. They're open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And also look for Steve on One Man's Opinion on WLIP, Mondays with Bill and Dan. It's
Sounds
Bill
great.
and Pete.
Bill and Pete.
Bill and Pete. Ooh, what did I say?
Dan.
Bill and Dan.
Oh, well, Dan can get a little cheap plug in.
So click that link right down there. We have to thank our sponsors one more time. That's Downtowner Saloon,
Union Park Tavern,
the CarBox,
Frank Steiner,
Minnie Samuel of Next Home Refined,
Acupuncture and Wellness of Wisconsin,
the Specialty Nacho Queen,
Lucci's Grandview,
LaMacchia Travel,
Faded Barbershop for Men,
Wink Beauty Boutique,
The Lettering Machine,
Gerber's Gift Shop.
and of course, Luigi's Pizza Kitchen.
Well, that does it, Donnie.
We did it. What a great episode.
Great
Thank you
show.
again, Steve.
Got a lot of editing to do.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm just trying to figure out what were we doing here?
What are we doing here, Donnie?
You know what? I finally figured it out. We are connecting Kenosha.